Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys. It's Thursday, November the 8th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, joined by Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy, and Andrew McGinnis momentarily should be along with us as well. Looking forward to another Thursday NHL card, 9 games to break down. Looking forward to it as always, starting with Alex B. Smith. Alex, how are you on this Thursday morning?
Doing pretty good. Like I said, coming off of watching my Northern Illinois Huskies pick up a nice win in college football. But we got some good hockey slate today. Obviously, big news with we broke the other show with Joe Quenneville leaving the Hawks, being fired. So their first game under Jeremy Colleton will happen tonight. Like I said, you got LA playing against Minnesota. Some really good matchups tonight. Boston, Vancouver as well. So looking forward to. I'll be watching everything tonight and hopefully cashing some tickets as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Name of the game, cash and tickets. Absolutely. Jimmy Murphy is well with us on a Thursday morning. Jimmy, how are things?
Things are great here. Things are great. Getting a little. It was warm yesterday, and then it's chilly again here. I don't know. This weather's nuts, but we had a beautiful day here yesterday, and I'm ready for a big hockey slate tonight.
No doubt about it. We always are. And we're going to start with Edmonton taking on Florida, top of the rotation. As always, we go in rotation order. Panthers minus 135, home favorites, total 6 shaded to the under in this game. Florida Panthers in a really, really, really odd situation and spot here when you look at it in terms of how long they've been off. This is their first game, believe it or not, since last Friday when they wrapped up that 2-game Global Series double dip against the Winnipeg Jets over in Helsinki, Finland at the Hartwall Arena. So this is now first game for the Florida Panthers since then. Very awkward. And Winnipeg's obviously going to be experiencing that as well, I believe tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So you got to be careful with these teams. It's a very, very long layoff with a long flight back home to North America included in that. And you're just never sure with that long a period of time off, you're going to get a sharp a hockey team and a team playing at their absolute best. And not to mention Florida hasn't been playing great hockey as of late. Now, they do have Roberto Luongo back. Okay, that does make a world of difference when you're talking about going from James Reimer and Michael Hutchinson to Roberto Luongo. And Roberto Luongo in his first start back for the Florida Panthers from that injury got the win against Winnipeg, the second game of that two-game set against the Jets. They got the 4-2 win. In that hockey game. They're still having issues on the PK. I mean, this penalty kill unit for Florida has been awful. They've given up at least one power play goal in all but one of their last 7 games. That's not very good for this team. Defensively, they continue to have problems keeping the puck out of their own net. Luongo's going to help that a little bit, but eventually you got to have defensemen in front of him that are capable of getting the job done. Capable of protecting their own zone, protecting the net. And Florida's really had a trouble with their defensemen. It's not a great defense. They've had a couple guys out. Pisic's been out. They had Matheson out for a period of time. And now you're in a little bit of a tricky spot here. Edmonton, obviously, has been cooled off a little bit. They've lost 2 straight games, but do you really shame them for either loss? Tampa Bay, who's been playing great, and the Washington Capitals, who at home this season have played pretty good hockey. So you lost to 2 very, very good teams. No real shame in that for the Edmonton Oilers. In fact, they outshot Washington and played Tampa Bay in terms of territory and chances pretty even the other night. Koskinen sort of came back down to earth. Mikko Koskinen didn't have a great performance in net against Tampa. You will see who the Oilers go with. I'm sure they'll go back to Cam Talbot tonight in net. But, with Edmonton right now, they're scoring goals. They're also giving them up. So I'm going to look over the total. Over the total makes some sense in this game. I also like the Edmonton side. I mean, Edmonton, I think, has got a chance to bounce back here. They lost the last 2 to Tampa and Washington, are 2 good hockey teams. Played well enough in those games. Really could have won both games, to be honest with you. Still like what I'm seeing for the most part from the Oilers. Their secondary scoring has started to come to life just a little bit. Defensively, they've played a little bit better. They played better going into those 2 games. But again, Tampa and Washington, we're talking about some real good offensive teams. Actually, Florida's been pretty good offensively too. It's been defensively where the problems have been, but I just don't know if I trust Florida here with such a long layoff coming back from Finland being off since last Friday, and Edmonton's own Florida in this building. I mean, they're 9-0 Edmonton the last 9 times they've played Florida here in Florida. That's 9 straight wins for the Oilers when they visit the Panthers here in Florida. That's a trend that's very, very difficult to ignore. So I'm going to go Edmonton plus 115 here, and also over the total of 6 here. Oilers and Panthers. Yeah. Get to Jimmy. He's involved in this.
I'm liking that over too, guys. I like the over 6 in this. I see a lot of goals going. I mean, Luongo's coming back, and eventually he should help. but you got to imagine he's a bit rusty after the long layoff there, being hurt. And you bring up that dominance there of the Oilers in Florida. They're not the only team. A lot of teams tend to go down there, and take a whipping on the Panthers. Probably the worst home advantage in the league. But I just like a lot of goals in this. The Panthers can score. The Oilers can score. This could be a seesaw affair. I see the Oilers maybe win it, but I'm going to stay away from the win there. I'm going to go with the over 6.
All right, over 6 with the Oilers taking on the Panthers. Alex B. Smith, Oilers Panthers. What do you got?
I like Edmonton in this spot. For one, I just don't understand why Florida is being favored. Like I said, coming off of an odd trip, and I really hate having teams playing. I don't like them playing overseas to begin the season like they did with Edmonton, New Jersey. But I really don't like it. A month into the year, having teams having to come back from a weird trip and have this extra time off. But like I said, then Luongo, yes, he's back. But of course, him getting older, you wonder if there's going to be some sort of semblance of rust. Now getting back and getting, familiarly back home and being in net. Like I said, Edmonton's just starting to roll a little bit better right now. So, and a plus price, I'm going to go with the Oilers.
All right, Alex B. Smith also liking Edmonton tonight in that one. Boston hosting Vancouver. We've got Boston minus 230, total 5.5, shaded to the under minus 120. The Vancouver Canucks finally got cooled off a little bit the other night in Detroit, but didn't play a bad game. And considering all the injuries they had, Brock Besser was a late scratch in that game against Detroit as well for the Canucks the other night. Without him, too, one of their key cogs in terms of forwards. He's had a great start to the season. Actually had a slow start, maybe slow first couple of games, but boy, he has picked it up ever since then. And he was not in the lineup for the Canucks the other night. Still battled Detroit to a 3-2 shootout loss. Outplayed Detroit for most of that game, though 42-30 shot edge for the Canucks. It was a really good night in net for Jimmy Howard for that Detroit Red Wings team. But Vancouver's a game team every night. Every night they give you good, honest effort. Travis Green has remarked that on many occasions, how this team's just played some really good, tough hockey. Competitive hockey. They come ready to play most nights. Like I say, I love the forward group. Pedersen, Horvat, Virtanen's shown some signs of life. Obviously, Besser's questionable for this game tonight. We'll see if he comes back. But Vancouver's a tough out every single night. Now, this is a revenge situation for Boston. They lost in Vancouver in overtime earlier this season. But you look at Boston lately, having trouble scoring, 2 goals or less, 3 of their last 4 games. The offense is starting to dry up just a little bit. If you contain Marchand, Pasternak, and Bergeron, again, it's the same old theme with this team. Are you going to get guys to really help them out offensively? And they're a big under machine. We talk about Toronto. They maintain a strong under trend right now. So is Boston. Boston's gone to the under in 8 straight, 8-0 to the under for this Boston Bruins team in their last 8 games. That's probably the way I'd lean here. I'd probably go under this total. We see Vancouver on the road not really lighting it up to the way they did at home. They get the sense of being that team, Vancouver, where they want to kind of put on a show, get the offense going a bit more at home, try to dig in a little bit more on the road defensively. Vancouver's gone 4-0 to the under their last 4 road games. Boston on that 8-game overall under streak. So, yeah, I think under 5.5 is probably the way I'd go in this game. Worth a bet here with the Canucks and the Bruins. I'll be honest, even though Boston lost to Vancouver, may want to avenge that first loss, I'm very tempted to grab north of plus 200 with Vancouver or small play, especially if Brock Besser plays. Because you look at Boston, they played a letter-perfect game against Dallas the other night. I thought they played one of their better games in a while. And they only win in overtime 2-1 because of the offensive issues, because Tuukka Rask gives up a soft goal early in that game. I mean, it's just, Boston needs to play almost an A game, and even then they're not exactly cruising to victory. They're just getting by with wins right now. It's a grind for the Bruins. And when it's a grind for a team to win games at the moment, those aren't teams I'm looking to lay 240, 250 with when they're just grinding and gutting wins out like the Bruins are right now. I have a small flyer on Vancouver. I don't think I'll be able to resist taking that at a nice over plus 200 price. This game's not on Jimmy's card, but it's the Bruins.
I had it on.
Got to get his take. Yeah, oh, you do. You're right. Yeah, you do. You do have. Yeah, yep. First one. I see that on the first message there. Yeah, Vancouver, Boston. Or we will ask you about Boston anyway, regardless of what you have a bet. Regardless of whether you have a betting opinion on it, we always get Jimmy's take on the Bees. Jimmy, do you agree with me? It seems like Boston, they could play great, and there's still life and death to win some of these hockey games right now.
Yeah, well, first off, one thing. I mean, and I agree. Look, there's no arguing that they need Don Sweeney to pull a trigger on something soon here because the internal solution is not there. They thought maybe they could get that secondary offense out of some of their younger kids that had really solid years last year, or even an Andrews Bjork who was hurt for most of last year but has speed and offensive potential. It's just not happening. So he's got to do something about that. But let's not forget too the injuries they've had on the blue line. I mean, you're missing Charlie McAvoy right there. That just screws up your offense completely. I mean, because he's their future number one. He's the guy that creates the offense from the back end. I mean, Zdeno Chara can blast that puck in still, but really Charlie McAvoy is kind of the anchor of that offense. And when he's not there, they really miss him. So that's what you're seeing there right now with their offensive struggles. And you mentioned Tuukka Rask letting a softie. Hey, what's up, Andrew? You got Andrew.
What's up? What's up?
There he goes.
There he is. So anyways, and guys, yeah, Tuukka's a whole different situation. He's just had a horrible month of October, and it's carrying into November right now. He lets in a softie there, but thankfully, Yaro Halak right now, I mean, hands down, there's no questions asked. He's the hottest goalie in the NHL. I mean, he's leading in almost every category. He's been a wall for the Bruins, and he's kept them in games that they had no business winning. And one of those would have been the last game they played against Vancouver, which they lost 2-1 in overtime. You referenced that there. And keynote here, and this is another reason I really love the under like you in this. I picked the Bruins in my free SBR pick with the under. So I gave 2 picks, the Bruins and the under. But I was very skeptical of the Bruins there. I'm kind of regretting it already because I'm with you. This game right now, you got Yaro Halak in there. But the Canucks are only the second team is one. There's 2 teams, I believe it was the Canadians and the Canucks, that have shut down that top trio of Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak. So the Canucks are one of those teams, one of those 2 teams to hold them pointless in a game. So obviously they know how to shut them down. I definitely see an under in this, and I'm back and forth. I'm on the fence. I mean, I think that's a smart play by you to take the Canucks there. Kind of regretting my Bruins pick because one thing I didn't even think of as you were talking there came into my head is they're playing Toronto at home on Saturday.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they're caught looking ahead to the Maple Leafs, which is such a big divisional game. First time they've met this season. So definitely a low-scoring game, but could go either way on who wins.
Yeah, the under is definitely something I'm interested. I'm definitely interested in the under more. If Halak starts, I'd assume he is. It looks like
he's starting.
He is starting. Yeah, confirmed.
Get used to that. They're going to ride him. They're
you know what?
Ride him.
Yeah, I no doubt about it. Why they're doing that? I mean, he's been excellent. 1.45 goals against average, 952 save percentage. How do you argue with numbers like that? That's just absolutely brilliant goaltending. And
he's only $2.5 billion versus 7.
Yeah, and you know what? Gotta give him credit because Halak. This is kind of like one of those runs he went on when he was in Montreal many years ago. Remember, he led them deep into the playoffs that one year. He's playing that kind of way right now in net for the Boston Bruins at this point in time. And you got to like Tuukka Rask. I mean, the one thing about Tuukka, you're going to get professionalism. He understands the way the business works. There's a great quote here from him saying, Yaro has played unbelievable. That's the way it goes. If you're a hot goalie like that, then you've got to let him play. I totally get it. It hasn't affected me mentally really that much. A great quote right there from Tuukka Rask.
I'll just tell you guys one little tidbit here too, and it's not directly gambling related. I don't know if you can bet on a potential trade, but I've got 2 sources I really trust a lot that have been right on a lot of things for me before. Reached out to me within a span of 24 hours last week. Said, look, you may want to look into this. We're told that Florida and St. Louis were really close on something for Tuukka Rask over the summer in the offseason, that there were deals in place, and for whatever reason, it didn't go down. And I said, well, obviously Rask maybe wouldn't waive his no movement clause, which I wouldn't be surprised at all. So I had an interview with Rask last week, and we did the general stuff, but I didn't want to ask him that. But you know what? If he said he doesn't do anything off the record, so I'm putting it on the record right now. He got steamed when I asked him about this and walked away. And that's all. I didn't get an answer. So read into that what you may, but it's very interesting. It seems right now that, you know what, the Bruins are stuck with Tuukka Rask in his contract, and he's not going to waive the no movement. But thankfully they have Yar Halak, and that might turn out to be one of the biggest signings of the offseason if it continues this way.
Yeah, the way he's played has been fantastic. But I think there's some truth to that he was being bandied about with Florida and St. Louis. And I believe it because St. Louis needs goaltending more than a human being needs oxygen right now. Because you can't have Jake Allen and Chad Johnson long term for that. I know Chad Johnson had a rare good start the other night, which pissed me off on the
I wonder if Peter
Carolina.
Chiarelli in Edmonton would ever be interested, but obviously you're going to have to exchange big contracts there. They'd have to give up a pretty big name player to take on Tuukka Rask's contract in Edmonton, but it's something to keep an eye on.
But it's a big ticket deal. Exactly. It's a big ticket contract, and those are hard to swallow up for any team, regardless of how badly you need goaltending help. And that's going to be the conundrum and the albatross around Boston's neck if they're trying to unload Rask in any sort of deal. So Jimmy likes the under. Very, very lukewarm lean on the Bruins. I'm going to probably take Vancouver for some kind of small shot here in this game. Well, we'll welcome in Andrew before we get to the next game, and we'll ask Andrew if he's got anything on the first two games that we talked about. We've talked about Oilers-Panthers already. I think most of us like Edmonton. I know a couple of us like the over in that game, and I think we just talked about Vancouver-Boston. We both like the under, and I kind of like Vancouver as well at a big plus price. Andrew, Oilers-Panthers, Canucks-Bruins. You got any thoughts on those two games?
My list of games is in the chat box here for you, here, Ian. But or you should see it. But as far as that first Edmonton game, not interested in that one. But Vancouver, Boston, very interested in it. I think it's one of those ones that, as a gambler, as a handicapper, and as someone that bets on every single, looks at every opportunity that he can. I can't really forget what happened last time in Boston. And I think Jimmy, Alex, Ian, you guys can't forget about that either. What happened when the Bruins went to Boston? They got completely shut down. They got shut out. It was a tail end of their road trip, and they got completely dominated by the Vancouver Canucks. And, I think that, at the lower total that we're seeing right now, this is kind of one of those spots, in my opinion, to look at it and say, hey, look, Halak's not going to be perfect, throughout 82 games or whatever, how many he plays. So the fact that, we're being offered the 5.5 number at a plus 105 price, to me is rather tempting, to be honest with you, because I haven't been fully impressed with the Boston Bruins offense recently. Sometimes it has a spark for something. This Vancouver Canucks team is finally coming back to life. They've finally drifted back to earth a little bit. And for that reason, I think that this should be more of a competitive back and forth, lots of shots kind of game that creates lots of chances, lots of power plays. I've mentioned on the show before, and I really, really do stand by this theory, as it's proved me wrong again, proved me right when I haven't even trusted my own theory over the past couple of days, whereas that teams at the beginning of the road trip versus the end, I believe, are a little more jittery and a little more fired up, which may not cause a victory, but could cause an over the total in my eyes and play a little bit less sharp defensively. So I think this one could be a little bit more of high scoring in my eyes. And I think that Boston's offense finally wakes up and starts doing what they used to do and coming back to life. I feel like a ghost right now, guys. I'm dealing with some shadow issues right now. I'm trying to sit up here in my kitchen, and I have clothes behind me. You can half see my face. But anyway, if you can even see who I am right now, trust me, I think that this one should be a higher scoring game. I woke up and I wanted to give out the regulation line for Boston, guys. I figured it'd be a little bit better this morning, to be honest with you, but it's still pretty rough. I mean, in regulation, it's like minus 145, 150. It's pretty tough. And as we know how skilled Vancouver is and how strong they've been, it's kind of tough to look at that one. But I really do like Boston in this spot, though, especially with Halak starting. I think this team comes out strong at home.
All right, looking at Boston here, and Halak's been great. It's just a question, is regression going to happen for him in net, and is regression going to happen for Boston, positive regression offensively for them? They had chances against Dallas, lots of great pressure, zone time, chances, shots, just not much finish, only 2 goals. We'll see if they can have a better output tonight. Next game, we've got Arizona, Philadelphia, no line yet on this game with the Coyotes and Flyers. Believe it or not, it's East versus West, but they're playing for the second straight game here. They played in Arizona the other night. Flyers getting the better of Arizona, ending the red-hot Arizona winning streak. A nice victory for the Flyers, 5-2 in that game the other night. We've talked about how Arizona is now starting to trend over the total. I was onto that about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, even saying there's bet Arizona games over the total right now. There's going to be value to do it. They're starting to score. Their totals are going to be 5.5 for a while because of all those early season offensive struggles. And boy, that's been working. Arizona is now over the total in 4 straight games entering tonight. So they've been an over-trending team. They've finally found their offense. Now, they did have their 5-game win streak snapped against the Flyers the other night, but they'll be looking to avenge that loss here. Antti Raanta is out. That's the one concern for me, as he's injured lower body injury. What a shame. I mean, he's been playing so great for the Arizona Coyotes. He's been an absolute rock for them, but he's going to at least miss this game due to injury, which means you're going to see Darcy Kemper in net for the Arizona Coyotes in this game in the rematch. Philadelphia at home, believe it or not, Philadelphia has not really been all that great. Just 2-4 at home. I would have liked it more with Raanta, obviously. Right? Ranta's been great. He's better than the 2 goalies that Arizona has. But you look at it, Galchenyuk starting to chip in offensively, no question. You look at Clayton Keller, the rookie sensation from last year's, really stepped up his offensive game in recent outings for Arizona. There's a lot of contributors. Derek Stepan's starting to get going after a slow start as well. Michael Grabner, how about the run for him? He just gets picked up by a team and he starts scoring for them. I mean, he's been absolutely terrific. 6-game point total, 4 goals, 2 assists during that span. Michael Grabner has been big for this team as well. Offensively, I like the situation here for Arizona. They just lost to the Flyers. They go on the road. They've been good on the road, 500 on the road, and I think every loss for Arizona on the road, they've been competitive right in the hockey game too. So I think Arizona, I'll be interested at whatever price they're offered at for this game. We'll be looking at the Coyotes side here in this one when we get a line for it. Arizona taking on Philly is on Alex's slate as well here for this Thursday. Alex, what do you like?
Yeah, I kind of mad at myself for not playing Philly in the first meeting that they had back a couple of days ago. I did cash with the first period over, which was very, very fortunate because it was a goal with 50 seconds left on the power play where the Flyers took a 2-0 lead and cashed that ticket. But the Flyers just kind of jumped out early and dominated, but Arizona came back in that game late. It was a lot of roughhousing, a lot of pushing and shoving late in the third and in the end of that game. So, like I said, there's going to be some carryover here. You got a Philly team that was ending a road trip now, and then you got a Zona team that's going to start a 4-game road trip. So, like I said, a little bit of revenge spot. It's definitely going to be some carryover having a few days off. So I would lean with Arizona. Obviously, want to wait and see. I would guess that Kemper's going to get the bulk of the starts here. His backup now with Raanta out is Hunter Miska, who's a guy. If that name sounds familiar, he's related to Todd Miska, a guy who does all the graphics for masks around the league. He's a guy from out of Minnesota. So he's a kid that I've seen his stuff in the AHL. He's not really a guy that I would trust to grab a win in a spot start. This is strictly an emergency thing until Raanta comes back. So I would expect Kemper to get a lot of work down the line. So that's something to keep an eye on if you're looking at betting any games involving the Coyotes.
All right, looking at that potentially down the road. Buffalo, Montreal, next game on the slate. We've got Montreal minus 135, home favorites. Total 5.5, slightly shaded to the over here in this game. Very interesting to see how this one plays out. You look at it, here's Montreal. What did I say the other day on the show? This trend of theirs, it's really becoming something. Alternating wins and losses has been the theme for the Montreal Canadiens. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. They've been in that kind of pattern, this Montreal Canadiens team now for a good solid week or two, and it continues to happen. I mean, they lost to Tampa on the weekend. They bounced back with a win against the New York Islanders on Monday, and then they lose against the New York Rangers the very following night. And very interesting to see that people are questioning Carey Price again. Yeah, that was not his best game. That third period was not pretty for Carey Price against the Rangers the other night. I still think he's had a better season so far overall than what he's had last year. And I still think for the most part, Canadians are playing better in front of him. I think he's still been solid. He's been a step up from where he was last year. Here's Montreal again. They're off a loss. They're now 6-0 off a loss this season. So it tells me right there, and I was onto this a few days ago, not really looking to step in front of Montreal here against Buffalo. They've been a great bounce back team, responding off a loss. I think you might see that again from the Canadians here tonight, although minus 135's up there. It's not the best bargain. It's not a best bet, but I got to ride the trend. It's been good. I've been on it a couple of times. Habs off a loss have played well. I'm going to go that way here with Montreal minus 135 in this game. Buffalo Sabres, I believe, have not played since Saturday when they absolutely bombed the Ottawa Senators. I mean, that was just an absolute shellacking the Senators took at the hands of the Sabres. Montreal did lose to Buffalo earlier on this season in Buffalo. So a little revenge situation here for the Habs as well in this game. I believe it was Niemi in net that night. We'll see. I'm sure they'll stick with Price again here, but I know people concerned about the way he played the other night, but short sample size. You got to give him more. I still think he's been better. And again, Montreal's been a great respond off a lost team. So I'm going to go with the Habs here, minus 135. Lean to the over as well. 5.5, minus 115. The first meeting between these two teams went over the total. Both of Montreal's games this week have gone over the total. The Islander game went over. The Ranger game went over. So we might see goals in here. Buffalo's been scoring. Their offense has been solid for the most part of late. So over the total, and Montreal side and total is the way I'd go in this game. I'm going to get to Andrew because I actually missed him with the Arizona Philly game. He's on that one, and he's on Montreal Buffalo as well. So we'll give him the chance to talk about both of those games right now. Andrew, Arizona Philly, Montreal Buffalo. What do you like?
Yeah, I'll keep things pretty short and sweet with Arizona. You guys did a great job touching on it. I think that it's almost the same thing you said, Ian. The way that the Arizona Coyotes started off their season was almost like they were just messing with us as sports bettors, messing with us as hockey fans. Hey, look, this is who I'm going to be, and then 2 weeks later, surprise, I'm actually a good hockey team. So what their goals per game average is and goals against average for the start of the season versus what it is now is completely skewed. I mean, it's way different. They're almost a new team. They've kind of gotten their act together, and they've realized kind of who they are and how they have to play. So I think that having Darcy Kemper in nets, it's a huge loss. It's a rough one, I think, to lose Ranta. But I mean, I don't think Kemper's kind of like a huge letdown that really changes the life of this team by any means. So I see at one spot right now, Bovada plus 115 for the Coyotes, and I would gladly take that. I think that for them heading into the road right now, playing in Philadelphia after that last game where Philadelphia really lit the lamp, so to speak. I mean, they had their guys come out and really perform and have a strong performance. So I think that this one, the posted total is looking at 6 right now. I think this one could get a little bit higher scoring as well, but I'm going to look at the first period over 1.5, not the full game. And I'm going to look at Arizona Coyotes on the money line with the plus price. Like sometimes, we've been getting into those first periods, guys, and sometimes you see a 6 posted total for the full game, then you see a decent minus 115 for the first period, and you kind of like that one a little bit better. And heading into this Montreal Buffalo game, you guys know, as a Montreal fan, I don't really talk about Montreal games a lot. Like, I'm not forcing them ever. I don't usually try and give out picks regarding their games, whether it's fading them or backing them, but I think this spot's really great for them. I think that they're 4-1 straight up in their last 5 against Buffalo. That last game wasn't pretty against Buffalo. They played, I believe it was also a Thursday night, oddly enough. And I think that right now the biggest problem for this Habs team, guys, is that they're not used to competing in these games. I'll be honest. They're not used to having such an edge to be able to score and having that scoring depth and having the confidence and being in the mix. To be honest with you, that's how I feel. They're having such a great performance in the first, second, and period. Their goaltending is looking great. Their defense is great. And I feel like, first of all, when they have a lead, they don't know how to protect it. And second of all, when they're up, let's say 3-2, they don't keep pressing. They don't keep firing shots. They change their mentality. They play better hockey when they're a desperate hockey team, and they got to learn how to play better hockey when they're up, when they're winning, and try and secure that lead, be a confident hockey team. And I think coming into this one, they will take care of business. This is one of those games here, guys, where you look at Buffalo, who's also a scrappy team, and they're very, very rested. And I find it so weird, guys. And Jimmy, as someone that's close to the league, you can attest to it. I mean, how in the world do we have certain slates like last night and other slates or 2 nights ago where there's just 3 games, but you got a team like Buffalo that hasn't played since Saturday. It blows my mind, I think, and I think that these guys should be a little more active. But to be honest with you, I think it hurts Buffalo. I think it hurts them, and Montreal's going to be pissed off. They blew, it was 3-3 in the New York Rangers game, and I flipped the channel to another game, and all of a sudden I turn back, and it's 5-3 for the Rangers. It's a big blown lead. Price, same thing for him. I think it's low glove side rebounds have kind of been hurting him, but it's up to his defense to clear that puck out of the end. But I'm definitely looking at the Montreal Canadiens full game here, and to be honest, first period money line as well.
All right, looking at the Canadiens, I can't argue with that. I mean, Canadians have been absolutely phenomenal off a loss, have yet to lose 2 games in a row this season. And that is obviously going to be on the line tonight as they host Buffalo. It won't be easy. I like Buffalo. Buffalo's another team that's been a pleasant surprise. I've liked what I've seen. But you could say that about Montreal. And again, Montreal hasn't lost 2 straight. So got to ride them when they're looking to avoid that fate. It worked well with the Islanders on Monday night. We'll see if it can again tonight. Speaking of the Islanders, here they are against Tampa Bay. In our next game, Tampa Bay minus 210. Home favorites, total 6 across the board. I probably don't have any involvement in this game. This is one of those games really didn't stand out to me either way, side or total. Islanders have played well. 5 wins before getting it snapped in a shootout loss to Montreal the other night. I don't know if they're ready for this step up in class, though, against the Islanders. Again, they played Pittsburgh when Pittsburgh was struggling and is still struggling. They played New Jersey when New Jersey was, on the road and struggling. Carolina and Philly, the other wins. So some of those wins look great. Wow, beat Devils, beat the Penguins twice. But when did you play those teams? It's not so much who you beat. It's what were those teams in? What state were they in when you played them? Well, New Jersey was struggling through a road trip at the time you beat them. Pittsburgh struggling overall when you beat them 2 times in a row. So again, not trying to totally disrespect the run the Islanders have gone on, and they've made strides defensively. I've said that time and time again. Leonard and Grice have been solid, but this is going to be a real test for them. The way Tampa's rolling, the way their offense is clicking, the way their power play's clicking. They've scored 4+ goals in each of their last 3 games, victories against Montreal, Ottawa, and Edmonton. So it's a team that's playing very good hockey. Their only losses were Arizona in a really, really tough spot at the end of a long road trip, and Nashville at home. And we see what Nashville's doing right now. Nashville, you can't stop the Predators right now. So this is going to be a tough task for the Islanders. I'm not really looking to back them as a big dog here. I think Tampa Bay probably gets the win, but I'm going to stay out of this game. Totals wise, again, 6. It was high-scoring games last year with these 2 teams, all 3, but different kind of Islanders team playing a little bit better defensively with better goaltending as well. So I'm pretty neutral right now when it comes to the total. But Tampa is lighting the lamp. That's no doubt about that. The last 3 games, they've been very good offensively. This game is on Jimmy Murphy's card here. The Islanders taking on the Lightning down in Tampa.
Guys, I like a lot of goals in this game right now. I think the Isles, they could come out a motivated bunch after blowing that lead to the Canadians the other night. So I could see them wanting a little redemption there. They're going to be running and gunning, and just Tampa's got so many weapons there. So I think when these 2 teams meet up, I mean, I know Vasilevsky's a great goalie, but still, I see these guys going toe to toe in like a 6-4, 6-5 type of game here down in Tampa.
All right, Jimmy looking for goals with the Lightning taking on the Islanders down there in Tampa. Should be interesting because, again, the Islanders, this is going to be their litmus test. I mean, it's a 1 game in November. You can't make too much of it, but this will be a good type of challenge for them. See where this team is at truly, especially with their little bit of an improved play defensively. We'll see if they can make that stand up tonight against a Tampa team that, again, right now when they get their offense rolling, and right now the Lightning are in one of those situations, pretty tough team to stop. Vegas taking on Ottawa. The next game, Vegas laying minus 160 on the road in this game. 5.5 shaded to the over, minus 115 to minus 120. What do you make of the Ottawa Senators? I have no idea. Because here's the conundrum with them. They came out and absolutely put the boots to New Jersey in stunning fashion. 7-3, 8-3 that game ended the other night. Very impressive. It seemed like that might have been a rally the troops moment after obviously the Uber incident that got a lot of play, got a lot of attention, was basically shown everywhere. Sort of rally around. We still believe in this team. We still believe in our coaches. Let's play like it. And that's definitely what I got the sense of from that Ottawa performance the other night. Hell, there was a standing ovation in Ottawa when they killed a penalty. This is the most scrutinized penalty kill now in the history now, following that incident in the Uber vehicle, after all the criticism that the players had for their coaches running the penalty kill and their penalty kill itself, and they actually killed off a couple penalties against New Jersey the other night. So now the question is, was that just a one-night stand type of deal? One night to really rally the troops, galvanize the team, come together in light of that fiasco that happened? Or do we go back to the same old Senators tonight and they go back to struggling again, particularly defensively? We'll have to wait and see. But in theory, this is like irresistible force. versus a movable object in this game. I'm talking about Ottawa's suspect defense and penalty kill against a Vegas team that can't put a puck in the ocean right now. So something's got to give here in this hockey game. Vegas is struggling, and I mean struggling offense. I mean, it's very hard pressed for this team to score goals right now, the Golden Knights, and it's been a source of frustration for them pretty much all season long. But Ottawa's had trouble keeping the pucks out of their net. Now, is that just a one-night, step up performance, or is there something to that? Makes me think. I was looking at Ottawa at this underdog price, saying maybe they're going to go on a run. Maybe, I don't know, get on some kind of run here just based off the incident. It gets at people rallying together. It sure did against New Jersey, but I don't know if I don't buy that yet being more than just a one-game thing. This is still, not a great team. They're terrible defensively still. It was better for one night. I got to see it happen again before I believe it. That being said, I'll tell you right now, there's no way I'm laying $1.60 with struggling Golden Knights on the road right now against anybody. That's not a price I have any sort of comfort in backing Vegas in right now with the way they're having trouble offensively. So, maybe the slightest leans to Ottawa, but I'll be honest, this is two teams. I don't trust Vegas laying this price, and I don't know if Ottawa's one game step up against New Jersey is a sign of things to come. That might just be one game only, and they're back to the same old Sens tonight. This will give us an indication of whether that's the case or not. Vegas, Ottawa for Andrew is on his card tonight. Wants to talk Golden Knights Sens. Andrew, what do you make to of that New Jersey result the other night? Stunner for the Ottawa Senators.
Man, it's almost picture perfect, almost like a made up story in Hollywood. I mean, something like that happens. You go out. I was on the over because I thought they would kind of make things a little more messy. They're already an overtime kind of team. They're a high scoring team, and they came out absolutely firing. I mean, no one can argue, no one can take it against them that they all came out. They all looked good, especially the guys that were in the Uber car, like Shabbat, like Duchesne. They all looked good. They were all performing, and we also can't take away the performance of the Devils as well. Contributing to the over as well and padding the stats. But guys, something that's very interesting to me. I know I'm always talking about goals per game, but I like to see who's consistently scoring. The Ottawa Senators are close to 3.5 goals per game, yet they have a 6-6-3 record. 3.5 goals per game, but they have a 6-6-3. Literally 500 3 overtime losses with 3.5 goals per game. I mean, to me, 3.5 goals per game is a talented roster. I mean, you tell me that. I mean, I'm thinking about teams like the Bruins, like the Penguins, 3.5 goals per game. Not the Ottawa Senators. So you got a team in Vegas right now who's coming in that, like you said, cracking me up and can't put a puck in the ocean right now. They can't find their way. Something has to spark here, and it's going to be against Ottawa. I'm going to stay on this over train. One thing you've taught me when you find a trend and you find something you like, there's no point in shying away from it. I think that Ottawa will get off to a good start again. Somehow, some way, we're gonna get a 5.5 here with this number, simply because Vegas has been completely quiet with their totals. I mean, the total's gone under in 9 of their last 11, and 4 last 5 on the road. But if you flip things around, I mean, for Ottawa, 10 of their last 15 games at home and 6 of their last 7 overall have gone over the total. And they've got talent, man. They've got guys that can score, and they've got guys that are motivated right now. I've mentioned it. I mean, I think sometimes they're still in that point where it's the start of the season, and when there's no pressure on you at the start of the season, you can continue to have success. Maybe in the middle part, they're going to really fall off. I think the Ottawa Senators will, but they'll compete in this one. From a value perspective, guys, I don't think anybody should be on the Vegas Golden Knights at the price that they're laying. Minus 155 with this struggling team. That's absolutely ridiculous. I'd rather take a shot with the home team to come out with a decent performance on defense and put a few pucks behind Vegas, because minus 150 with this Vegas team, that's ridiculous.
I mean, 2-6 on the road as well, the Golden Knights, and they lost Eric Haula in their last game against Toronto to an injury, so he's out for this game. Now, there is question marks about Bobby Ryan on the Ottawa side. He left the last game to injury, questionable to play tonight for the Senators. Obviously, one of their veteran forwards, a guy that's capable offensively, more than capable, may not go tonight. See, I'm on the fence. I feel 5.5. I should be betting every 5.5 with an Ottawa Senator game over the total right now. Absolutely. I mean, with the way this team gives up goals, they give up goals like it's candy to kids on Halloween. They just give it away. And basically that's the way it goes. But to me, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around trusting Vegas to score right now. I mean, it's just been such a and we did see Ottawa make a better effort and account of themselves defensively the other night against New Jersey. And you got to wonder now if after that video hits the public scene the way it did, that team doesn't bear down a little bit more defensively, knowing that they were pointing fingers at the penalty kill and their inability to keep the puck out of the net. It worked against New Jersey, but now you're facing a team that can't score right now. So again, I want to take this over. I really, really do. It's 5.5 with Ottawa. I got to take it. I feel I should take it, but I don't know if I will. I got to deliberate on that a little bit more. I would lean over. Certainly 5.5. That's value to the over from an Ottawa standpoint, but can we trust Vegas to get there? We'll have to wait and see tonight on that. Next up, we've got Carolina, Chicago. We got Chicago near even money really on both sides here. 6 shaded to the under the total. Well, if you believe in the bet the team after a first game after a coach gets fired theory, you're on Chicago tonight, and you were probably on LA the other night. They were in that spot against Anaheim, first game with Willie Desjardins behind the bench after they got rid of John Stevens, and it was one of the best performances I've seen out of the Kings all year by far. They got out to a 3-0 lead, cruised to a 4-1 win against the Anaheim Ducks on Monday night in that first game. They looked faster. They looked like they had purpose. They had some more energy. It injected some life into the team. This could for Chicago. I mean, Jonathan Toews, there was one quote from him, for as much as he in particular has been through with Joel Quenneville as his head coach. I mean, multiple Stanley Cups, good times, bad times, great times. I'm sure the great celebrations during the offseason with Coach Q and his family celebrating the Stanley Cup. He still said, I can understand why they made the move, because we're trying to get this next step going in the franchise. So I still think that there's going to be some people that, the people that have had a lot of history with Coach Q, your Seabrooks, your Keiths, your Taves, your Kane, they're going to have, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period for them. But I still think overall the sense from Chicago is for this game tonight, this first game with Colleton behind the bench as the head coach, you're going to get that typical effort from a team in that first game. You're going to step up. Everybody's a little more attention to detail, a little more focused, a little more energy. And you really want to try to win that first game. I think you're going to get that sense from Chicago. And it's not like the team they're playing tonight they can't beat. I mean, Carolina just can't get out of their own way right now. Again, you can have 1 million shots and 30, 40 shots a game like they do. It doesn't matter if you can't bury any. And it's a real bad sign when you can only get one stinking puck past Chad Johnson the other night in the loss against St. Louis. Their offense is another offense that's dried up. The Carolina Hurricanes, their offense has dried up. I think this is a Chicago spot. Again, LA got it done in this spot the other night. I'll take a chance that Chicago can as well. Not a big price to worry about. -105, -110, and at home too. They're going to have the fans behind them. I do think the Blackhawks get it done. I know Alex has a lot of great material, info, and things about Chicago, the coaching change, which again we broke on the air. We got the resident Blackhawk fan here on the Ice Guys. Alex's initial reaction to that firing, he was stunned by it just based on the timing. I think we all knew it could happen at some point. We weren't sure it was going to happen Tuesday morning when it did, but he's got a lot of info on this game in terms of how the players are responding to it, what the situation is going to be on the bench, and he's got a very, very interesting thing to say about that. Alex, Chicago, as they begin a new era tonight against Carolina.
Yeah, if you go back and watch the last episode, if you see like around the 9-minute mark, you can see my initial reaction of shock in the bottom corner. But this game is going to be interesting. Obviously, like I said, the Q era is over. This is now the Jeremy Colleton era. But one thing that I've noticed, and I've been obviously dissecting this since the news broke, and I've talked to people, been reading different quotes and stuff. There's a divide, not just amongst the younger and older players, as you kind of mentioned, but there's also a divide now with, and this has been a thing for a while, the front office and the staff itself. Quenneville and GM Stan Bowman did have quite a few differences, especially toward the end of Quenneville's tenure. And one of the things that happened is in 2012, the Hawks power play was abysmal, which it was for maybe, I would say, probably the last 5 years. And Bowman sent down a guy named Barry Smith. Barry Smith, the longtime assistant who's been under the Scotty Bowman regime, times in Detroit and Pittsburgh way back in the day. He basically was down there without Q's knowledge to work on the power play. This led to an argument between Q and Bowman, and words were exchanged, and things had been rocky kind of ever since. Barry Smith is now the lead assistant coach behind Colleton and will be on the bench tonight. So that's something to really take note of. The two things that they've been working on the most in practice now with Colleton has been the power play and working on tightening things up defensively as well, which obviously that's still going to be a main core. Obviously, when you have the fact that this team really only has two true blue liners that are worth a damn in Keith and Seabrook. And like I said, a team that has a goalie that they have to kind of look out for in Crawford, another aging goalie in Cam Ward. Defense still has to be a high issue, but the power play is going to see some changes, which is much needed. Also, hearing some quotes from some of the younger players, guys like Vincent Hinstroza, who now left, he's in the Phoenix organization, but in talking about Colliton, saying that he's a guy who's a lot more open, has more of an open door policy than Quenneville had in later years. So that's something that will be, kind of welcome to as well. He's going to be more of a hands-on, having that younger approach is something that might be, reward more than risk later on, especially because we're talking about, like I said, the key guys are going to be gone soon. We're gonna be without Kane, gonna be without Taves, Seabrook, Keith in just a few years. So you got to start building up the core. That's what I said. Having Colliton, I think it's a good move for the future. Tonight we should see a very spirited effort from the Hawks. Like I said, I don't know how the crowd's going to react. Obviously, the Hawks need to come out firing to get the crowd into the game. And I think we see that. I think we'll see the leaders, like I said, Taves and Kane, really step up in the spot here. But as for the future goes, we'll have to see if this whole, Smith just kind of being a guy who's going to be just like more of a spy and relaying things back to the front office, or is he really going to be a guy who makes an impact on the bench and change some things around? I don't know what to, it's a weird vibe I'm getting from that. It reminds me of the dark ages from 10, 15 years ago when Bill Wirtz was running the team. So hopefully it doesn't get back to that horrible era. Hopefully it's in more positive things, but that's something to be looking forward to the future with this new coaching regime.
Yeah, Bill Wirtz was running the team all right into the ditch. That's basically where he was running the team. So yeah, I remember that. That was tough times. There was nobody that couldn't draw flies to those Blackhawks home games back then. It was a really, really tough time. They were a miserable hockey team on the ice as well. It was a really dark, dreary time for them. No question. Back in those mid 2000s, or early to mid 2000s, it was a bad time for the Chicago Blackhawks. But yeah, from what I've read about Jeremy Colliton, very good communicator, like a really good, gets his point across to the players. You can always talk to him anytime. So that's a good sign. You always like to see, and usually for coaches like that, with that kind of personality, you play for them, especially right off the hop. And I think you're going to get that from Chicago tonight. Jimmy Murphy as well with Chicago, Carolina. Jimmy, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just jumping right on that first game under a new coach tradition there, and I think they come out real strong tonight. I like the puck line in this as well. I think the Blackhawks explode for some goals here and get the United Center going, and for a little bit sense that maybe they're switching gears and going in a better direction. But I still see a bad future for Chicago in this season. But tonight they win one, and they win it by more than one goal.
All right, next up, San Jose, Dallas. We got about 5-6 minutes left. San Jose, Dallas. San Jose minus 130, home favorites, total 5.5 across the board. Dallas off a long road trip back home, tricky spot. Not sure I love laying minus 130, though, on the road with San Jose here. So I don't really have much in this game. So I'm going to defer to the guys that do have something on it. That would be Jimmy. That would be Alex. Alex, we'll go with you here. Sharks and Stars. What do you like?
Yeah, we were riding that Sharks first period overtrend that kind of started and that quickly faded the other night in their win against Minnesota. But looking back tonight, they're going to be playing a Dallas team that Dallas it's kind of interesting. We've talked about it for a while about how, things going under Montgomery, they want to try and have a lot more energy. But it's kind of funny. They're almost reverting back to how Montgomery was running things at University of Denver, where they're going to have high energy, but it's not going to translate more in the offensive sense. It's more of they're going to play a high energy style of hockey in a two-way fashion and kind of leaning more toward the defensive end, because we're not seeing them score nearly as often as we were, during the Hitchcock era or even back further along. So now I'm a little hesitant to play that first period over, but looking at the trend of full game over with these two teams, 11 of the last 12 meetings have gone over the total. So I think that might be a little bit at risk here too. San Jose, like I said, they're just trying to find their identity. I thought things would be clicking for them a little smoother by now. They did get, two nice wins and a nice win against a hot Minnesota team. But I would be looking at this game possibly going under. I could see these two teams trying to make sure that they don't, limit their own mistakes and limit chances on the opposite side. So I would lean here looking at the under in this spot.
All right, lean to the under. San Jose, Dallas. Jimmy, San Jose, Dallas for you.
I like that one too. I definitely like the under there, but I'm going to go with the Sharks puck line on this. I'm going to go with the whole first game back from a trip. Dallas is, maybe a bit lethargic in this one, and San Jose really needs this win. So I like the puck line for the Sharks here.
All right, San Jose to take care of business. Puck line, which gives you really good value with that. We wrap it up with Minnesota, Los Angeles. Last game on the board, near even money, minus 110 on both sides if you like the Wild or if you like the Kings. Total 5.5 across the board. Kings, bravo. Great first game for Willie Desjardins. Again, dominated the Ducks. Nice, solid 4-1 win the other night against Anaheim. Is that a one-off or is that a sign of a run? This team believes they got a run in them. I'm going to have to see them win tonight because, let's be honest, Anaheim's got issues. Minnesota far from perfect, but they've played relatively better lately. This is going to be a step up for this LA team. See if they can get it done here. You got Minnesota off a game that's against the San Jose Sharks the other night. Tough one for them. This road trip continues for the Wild, but very, very tough game. We'll see if LA's can make it 2 in a row. I'm still believing this roster's not good enough for the Kings. I mean, that great first effort with the new coach, I understand that, but I'm going to have to see them play another good game before I can back them. That's basically plain and simple as I can put it. So I'm not going to be involved in this game. Minnesota, LA, tough game. I still think Minnesota's the better of these two teams and probably would have to lean to their side if I bet it, but I'm going to respect what LA did, give them a chance to show it to me a second straight time under Willie Desjardins. So it's a pass for me. Alex B. Smith has some things on the Wild and the Kings. This is going to be Andrew's best bets. We'll do Andrew for this game when we get to best bet. Alex, what do you think of Wild and Kings here tonight?
I already played Minnesota here. I got him at minus $1.05. I mean, this team is just rolling right now, and they played a tough battle in San Jose the other night, losing that game 4-3. But Stahl was listed as questionable with illness for the night's game. I'm not sure what exactly. Trying to figure out more of what exactly was going on there. But like I said, this is a team that knows they need to start getting some wins, continue to get wins rather on the road because they're a good team at home. They're 5-0-2 at the XL Center. So I think this is a good spot here. Like I said, LA finally, did get the win, under Desjardins, his first start as the head coach. But they were playing against the Anaheim team that we've gone ad nauseum about their problems, and obviously that's a rivalry matchup too. So I can see where it could be maybe a slight letdown spot, but I think more of a bounce back spot here for Minnesota at a cheap price. So I laid it with the Wild at minus $1.05.
Yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota's better than LA, and there's no question about that. And this is going to be interesting because I think if LA loses and doesn't play well tonight, it's a sign that okay, maybe this is not going to go anywhere in terms of the new coach. It's just something that's going to, because again, the new coach can't go out there with a stick and skates and play for these guys. He's still inherited a roster that I think is depth shy forward wise, that is not great defensively when you get outside of Doughty. And, of course, goaltending. Jonathan Quick's not been the same and is now injured again. And you got Jack Campbell, who I don't think long-term can be a 40-start kind of guy at a number one NHL goalie kind of level. So I still think there's issues with this Kings team. We'll see if Minnesota can bounce back and take care of business against them here tonight. Let's get to best bets now to wrap up the show. We'll go reverse this time. We'll start with Jimmy with best bet for this Thursday card. Jimmy, what do you like?
I'm going with that under in the Canucks Bruins. I really think this is going to be a low scoring affair there, and Yarrow Halak is going to be on his game once again.
All right, under for the Canucks and Bruins. That's Jimmy's best bet. Andrew McGinnis, his best bet from the Wild Kings game. What do you got?
Yeah, guys, for me, this is a perfect job there by Alex talking about how this Minnesota team is so great at home. They defend their home very well, but it's important for them to come out on the road and look strong and have a stronger performance. And it's notable for us to mention, I mean, they're on the road in Vancouver, Edmonton, St. Louis, San Jose, and now LA. It's a late game for them. For me, guys, I'm not buying what LA is selling. Of course, new coach, back-to-back games. They've had 4-1 victories. I mean, they still, in my eyes, guys, they're minus 155 favorites in that game versus the Ducks. That's abysmal to me. That's atrocious. They should not have been that heavy of favorites. And, this goal production cannot last for them. Of course, they got Campbell and nets, and they've been struggling, in my opinion, to have consistency on defense. I mean, their guys try and jump into the rush because they're not a fast team, but this team is far too slow. And, I'll be honest, I thought that Minnesota didn't have much goal production at the start of the year, but it seems like they do now, and they've really been stepping things up. And if you look at who LA's really beat, it was Anaheim, Columbus in a bad spot, and then they lost to New York Rangers. They've lost to the Ottawa Senators. They lost 7-2 to the Islanders. They lost 5-1 to the Sabres. Lost 4-2 to Dallas. I mean, and of course, back on the 25th, they did lose 4-1 to this Minnesota team. And, like Alex said, Minnesota's rolling 7-2 straight up in their last 8 games. And they've really taken care of LA. So for me, I'm laying a little bit more of a price here, guys, with this. But I'm going to go over 2.5 team total, minus 127. I think that Minnesota's goal production is good. They're comfortable on the road. They're used to it right by now, and they should get to at least 3 guys. So best bet material, team total for the first time this year, over 2.5, minus 127.
Yeah, I mean, team total, everything's on the board when it comes to best bets. Yeah, regulation lines, puck lines, team totals. Yeah, whatever. Best bet can be anything. We don't restrict it, certainly, to money lines and full game totals. And yeah, it's a decent way to go, I think. Minnesota team total over 2.5 for Andrew with his best bet. Alex B. Smith, what do you got for best bet?
Well, you got 2 teams that are battling each other with 5-game losing streaks. Like I said, Chicago trying to make a change with Colton. And I think we're going to see it tonight. Like I said, I think we're going to see a spirited effort. I think the veterans of this team are really going to step things up. And it's the irony, like I said, I said it last show about Carolina coming in, because there's a lot of Carolina guys, that were former Hawks under Quenneville as well. So I'm sure they're just as stunned as well. And I don't know who's going to get the start in net, if it's going to be Cam Ward against his old club or not. These two will be playing again down the road in I think about 5 or 6 days as well. So, but I like the Hawks here minus $1.05. Also, the best alternate jerseys in hockey. They're wearing their old 26-27 jerseys for the Winter Classic.
Ooh.
They'll be unveiling those today. So keep an eye out on those. But the Hawks, my best bet, they should be able to take care of business at the Madhouse on Madison tonight.
All right, excellent stuff. Chicago, best bet. And for me, we're going to ride the Montreal off a loss trend. It's perfect on the season. See if we can be perfect again after tonight. Montreal minus 135 against Buffalo. That's where I'm going to go for best bet on this Thursday card. That's going to wrap up the show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Great viewership as always.
Yeah.
Great show as always. We'll see you again, minus Jimmy, on Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern time for another edition of the NHL Ice Guys. For Alex B. Smith, for Andrew McGinnis, for Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Enjoy the Thursday night NHL card, and we'll see you again on Saturday.